Okay, so I'm just gonna throw this out there to YouTube. There's a lot of this online already, and I'm gonna talk about something that has to do with a friend I had for 15 years, a childhood best friend that I legitimately think is a narcissist. Not narcissistic, a narcissist. And I don't know how long I'm gonna talk here. I recorded this the other day, just kind of venting to my camera, and it turned out to be 40 minutes. I cried at one point, so I don't know if I'm gonna put it up and ever. But it was just a little bit. I didn't cry a lot, but yeah, there's some hard feelings here, to say the least. So I'm gonna do my best to keep my emotions under control, but talk about this process because it was very hard on me, very hard. It was hard having somebody you respected and looked up to change over time. They were this person you really cared about and admired, and they turned into a monster who you wish would just go back to how they used to be. So, I don't know how fluid this is going to be, because, again, a lot of emotions are going to be tied up here, and I scripted nothing. So, maybe not the most professional, but sometimes I feel like it's better not to script things, because you get a little bit more of a genuine sort of response. So, okay. History with this narcissist. I'll start back at the beginning. I met this guy back in elementary school. He moved from Phoenix, Arizona to Tucson, Arizona to my neighborhood. And they were just down the street from us, me and my little brother. We had two friends at this house. Both of them turned out not to be the best people, but you don't know that when you're a kid. All you know is, well, we'll have them come over and we'll jump on the trampoline and learn flips, go explore in the desert, go swimming, skateboard, ride your bikes somewhere. Kid stuff. Played a lot of video games together and just so much random stuff. Building forts, messing around making random games at our houses. Just so much history with these people. We grew up together and grew together. A big part of my personality was intertwined with theirs. So, it's hard to break loose of these people, even after they become toxic. But they did. I'm going to focus on the older brother because he was my age and I considered him my best friend and he considered me his best friend. I'm not too sure why, but I'll share why I could have potentially been considered his best friend in a second. So, I was already friends with these people, but the older brother ended up meaning more to me when I hit middle school. You see, I'm on the spectrum and I just don't follow things. When trends started to matter to everyone, I kind of lost my mind a little bit. I felt like I was going crazy. You see, the first people to adopt trends are ridiculed for it. That's what happened. Some people showed up to school with tight pants. Oh my god, those are gay. Why would you do that? But 2 weeks later, when the magazine started showing tight pants everywhere, we need to get tight pants. Everyone, you're not wearing tight pants. You're not cool. And I was just like, huh? What's going on here? Is anyone home? What is this? Why don't you remember what you were saying 2 weeks ago? Because they didn't almost. It didn't matter anymore. All that mattered is being the same as everyone else. And it felt really robotic. Like I had ducks growing up, and ducks just congregate together and just mindlessly quack, 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 quack. And I'm just like, that's us to a different level. Maybe a little bit more elaborate, but if you were sufficiently complicated, I wonder how much different we look than a mindless duck. Because this is mindless. There's nothing about it that is rational. People just kind of follow stuff. And I started thinking, am I the only real person? Wait a second, am I just a robot too? I mean, they don't know what they're doing, so I probably just have a set of behaviors that's been predetermined, and I have no control over it. Let's just say it sent me into something where I had a lot of existential angst. A lot. The thought of free will just not being a thing bugged me when I was a 7th grader. But this one friend who grew up down the street from me was the only person that seemed real. He didn't follow trends like everyone else did. In fact, he made his own trends. He paved the way, and everyone buying expensive clothes looked up to him, where he would go to thrift stores. It's just the way he was. He just somehow could stand out and have people respect him for it. Where me, I had trouble when I wasn't the same as everyone else. I respected him for it. I respected the fact that he could make a conversation with anyone about anything and make it interesting, where mine were just awkward half the time, forced, not interesting. And he could talk to me in a way that no one else could. So naturally, I liked him more than everyone else, but he liked me more than anyone else. Maybe similar interests, the fact he lived down the street from me, but at school he hung out with not me, other people. It's just not at school he'd hang out with me. So, there's that. But I started to wonder, does he only like me because I gave him so much admiration? That's what he's after. So, let's see. We're already about 6 minutes in, and I have so much to say. This is why I liked him. Part of the reason, too, is he was a little reckless. You see, every girl liked him in our school and in high school, but he was out of control in a lot of ways. So, there was a reckless aspect of being a daredevil, which he was, 100%. If he was at a party and there was a roof with a pool, he's the first one to do a flip off it. Other people would follow after he broke the ice, but he just gets things started. He was just, again, a trailblazer in a lot of ways, as far as being social and popular went. So, a lot of people looked up to him, including me, at this time. But my frame of reference has changed a lot. I started to realize a lot of the things that he did weren't just reckless, they were reckless at the point of being dysfunctional. For instance, when he was 15, not even with his driver's permit, when his parents would go out of the house, he would take their car. Okay, I'm sure a lot of kids do that, and it is reckless. Most kids won't do that, but he would also get drunk with his friends. So, underage, getting drunk, joyriding with friends. Okay, is that enough? No. He would also rail cocaine off the dashboard while driving, he said. And so, a story he was telling me is, he was so yacked out of his mind, is how he put it, that he was just not even paying attention to the road. He's driving, looking backwards at his friends, talking, and then he'll drive off the road. And he's all, whoa, okay, we're good. And then he does it again, because he's so fucked up driving around being a 15-year-old. And here I am thinking I'm just a coward because I would have zero fun doing that, knowing what would happen to me if my mom found out. Zero fun. It would just be stressful. Inevitably, he got caught in the end. He kept doing it, and he kept not paying attention to the time. Whole different story. Something's there where you don't even think. Just something's there. It's just unusual to be like that. So let's go a little bit deeper. I said he's a narcissist, and I mean it. We're going to get to a couple other things in a second, but the things that he has done in his life, and the way he's able to disregard them as if nothing wrong with me, I didn't do anything wrong afterwards, it's just like, you severely lack accountability, to the point where you're special. Something's wrong up here. You can't interpret things correctly. So, the thing I'm going to use has to do with, I'm going to use an analogy here, but the analogy actually works literally too. He is so selfish with food. Sharing. He doesn't share. Anyways, if he needs 3 slices of pie to feel satiated, and there's only 2 slices left, he's not even going to think about giving you those 2 slices of pie. So, he has done things literally like that before. Not always, but figuratively, oh my god, all over the place. Sometimes it's extreme. This next thing is something I heard from coworkers who went to his school. I never heard it directly from him. I only heard one thing directly from him from the situation. So the situation is, he was a bad influence on a lot of people. On me, not as bad as other people because I was less influential, or other way around, he's less, I didn't get influenced as easy for things I didn't want to do. Just because other people were doing them, I didn't do them. I wasn't really the average of my 5 friends, but for sure, some of their aspects did intertwine with my personality, as I said before. Anyways, he was getting a lot of people into hard drugs, though. Black tar heroin in high school. Like, pretty bad. This one friend in particular, he got to smoke black tar heroin and they overdid it. The friend started overdosing. So, this is a 2 versus 3 slices of pie situation. He looks at the situation, sees his friends throwing up and sick, but decides, I'm not going to do anything about this because that means I get in trouble. So maybe he was overconfident being a teenager. Maybe he's just so fucked up he didn't realize the magnitude of the situation. But At the end of the day, he was playing with his friend's life just so he had the chance of not getting in trouble. And he did. He got caught because the friend was sick for like 4 to 6 hours, something like that. That's what I heard. Something very, like, there was some real damage that got done. So, yikes, that happened. The whole school found out and started hating this guy. He went from being super popular to one of the most hated people in school. He did not get it. This is the only thing I heard for him. He said the whole situation was stupid that everyone started hating him because this guy's the one who smoked the heroin, not him. He never thought twice that maybe he got him into it. Maybe he had a responsibility to save his friend when he was the only one who was functional. Never any of those thoughts. It was always about how it was a bad thing that happened to him. So that was like not the only thing he did like this, but it's a pretty significant one. One where I would share that because if I'm going to call somebody a narcissist, I want to prove a point, and that kind of starts to prove a point that something's up here. Some sort of selfishness that's not normal. So, high school's done with. He has to go to rehab. You know, that's just the way it was. I decided to go to school. This is where we started having real issues. Like, we already had issues because I would call him, he'd flake out, and basically I said, hey, you want to hang out? Yeah, sure. Then he would just text a bunch of other people to go get fucked up with. If something better popped up, which it always did because he knew a lot of people, he wouldn't even call me. He would just not say anything and just let me get the idea eventually, which, you know, sucked. It was inconsiderate, me being his best friend, supposedly, but, you know, that's a different story. Basically, there's already some issues, nothing too bad, though. I missed him at this time. I felt bad that I didn't have my friend anymore. But after I started going to college, things started to change. Because narcissists like having status. But oftentimes, they have unearned social status. Not always, but it's not uncommon for a narcissist not to do anything with their life. Yet, they act like they need to be the leader. So when we're kids and we're all about the same level, it didn't matter as much. This was there. When you get in an argument with this guy, it was instantly, nope, definitely not, you're wrong. Just, that was like his go-to. And then you would ask him, okay, how am I wrong? I don't need to explain anything to you. He was so fixated on being right, even when he didn't know what he was talking about. Just something's up there. It's like he didn't understand that another person can know things you don't know. It's just like he gave himself complete authority over everything, as if you're just a subset of himself. It was there, it's just wasn't as bad because we were just closer. We were just closer in a lot of experiences, and so it just didn't make as big of an issue. I wasn't as much of a threat to him, and him being the way he was didn't bug me as much. But that changed. That changed a lot when I started going to school, and he went to rehab instead. He got very envious of me. And I'm not gonna lie, when you talk, a lot of times he wasn't the wisest person, but I mean, he spent most of his 20s doing hard drugs. He was in and out of rehab, nonstop. And I'm gonna pause there and say, addiction is part of the human experience. It's part of what happens to you if you do drugs and you're human. Some people are better at getting off them, some people get hooked easier, but that addiction is someone's reality and part of what this software is capable of for everyone. There's spiritual aspects of it, but you're not going to learn quantum field theory. You're not going to go and study law being as fucked up as he was all the time. It's just not the case. But he wanted to be treated like he did all that stuff. And when I was sitting at home studying 11 hours a day, 7 days a week, really starting to learn more and show that I'm a good student, first time in my life, he wasn't happy for me. In fact, he just tried to sabotage me. So I'm around a lot of people wiser than myself. And at this time, I think I got wiser than him. It made it hard. It made it hard to see somebody always lecture you on stuff, and you know where the lecture's going, but you just let him lecture. You let him say what he wants to say because you're fine with him having the spotlight. See, he didn't live in the same town as me, but when he would visit, it was just constant. Constant him trying to show, oh, look how much I know and my knowledge and this and that. In fact, it wasn't just me. My roommate at the time commented on it. I could see him getting on your nerves because he always talks to you like he has way more knowledge than you. My ex-girlfriend said, why does he talk to you like you're a little kid? And the reason is because he was intimidated by me. Narcissists are riddled with insecurity. And his insecurity had to do with the fact that he was losing grip of that leadership role. See, a lot was here. A lot was here. Part of it is I don't think he fundamentally realizes, and this is actually a trait of narcissists, you continue to exist when he's not there. Object permanence is kind of elusive to him. It's like he goes to rehab, gets a job, gets an apartment, gets a girlfriend. He's going through all these stages and progressing in his mind. Okay, yeah, sure. But he forgets that you're doing your own journey back home still. You're doing your own sort of building up. So he would come back from wherever he was living at the time in California and talk to me like I was a child. So part of it has to do with the fact that he didn't realize that I continued to exist, I think. I legitimately think that's part of it. But another aspect of this is he wanted to sabotage me. And how do I know this? Well, specific examples. And this is where I really started not liking him. He would gaslight me all the time. He would do this by when I said something he couldn't do, he would get jealous. He would get mad and try to convince me I didn't know what I was talking about. On the flip side of things, when he didn't know what he was talking about, he would make up facts on the spot. And we just go on and on with the bad friend stuff, stealing my video games for black tar heroin, like a PlayStation with a bunch of games, my Super Nintendo with a bunch of games and a multi-tap and controllers, like $200 worth of stuff. And you ask him, where did that go? Oh, I think my cleaning lady took it. Yeah. She puts it here sometimes in this random closet. Like, he pretended to look for my video game systems. I'm just shaking my head. I know you took them. But I almost hated it more when I couldn't hang out with him. The whole time I was around him, there was a target on my back. He was trying to make me doubt myself so that I would default to him being the leader. Just time after time after time. Somebody asked me, hey, how's school going, in his presence? And I was going to say, school's good. Like something super simple, because I'm not going to go into the details of me learning about the magnetic vector potential and quantum mechanics and having no classical analog. No, I'm not going to talk about that. I already learned that he doesn't like that sort of thing when I talk about it, so I'm not going to talk about it. But it was at the point where he didn't even want to hear me say I'm doing good at the thing I'm doing. He would just get jealous that I'm doing good at the thing I'm doing. So my friend asked me that one time he was visiting, and he cut me off. Oh, school's going... I'm actually partaking in an advanced training course for my job for being one of the top associates in my department, and it's a 2-week long thing, and it's going to set me up for the future. I'm going to have so much opportunity. And I'm like, oh, good. Like, I didn't want to say much about myself. It makes me uncomfortable. It really does. I was fine with them actually taking this, and I legitimately felt proud of him because I didn't want him to be a bum. I didn't want him to be a drug addict like that. I wanted him to pull himself up, which it seemed like he was doing with this. And so he finishes his arrogant and boastful tirade, honestly. It was just long, and he just had this tone of voice the whole time. He turns to me afterwards and just looks at me. It's like, yeah, you're probably not even going to get a job after college, really. And it just got to me. Because it's like, you don't know how much I work at this. I probably work a lot harder than you do at your job at this, and a lot longer. I sacrificed a lot to get to where I was. A lot of time. And it was a lot of stress. I don't rub it in your face. I don't do any of that. Moreover, you're talking to me like I have no idea what you're mentioning. Yeah, the statistic that 60% of people after college don't get a job, yeah, I'm aware it's everywhere online. Do you think I don't go online? Part of me thinks that he doesn't realize I continue to exist, so of course he doesn't realize I go online. Anyways, it was just dim-witted in my mind. How many people are social science majors, business, communication, stuff like that? That's what I was thinking. I'm dual majoring in math and physics. You know that. And you're just going to give me, like, the average. The exact average. Like, I always like to kind of put my friends... This is maybe part of my issue, staying in these relationships too long, but I like to see them in a positive light. And it just seems like he wants me to be exactly average so he can be exceptional. That's just it. Like, I could turn to the wall right now and show you my Outstanding Senior Award in Physics and Excellence in Undergraduate Research Award in Physics, which I never rubbed in his face. Those are both hard to get, and I got both of them. It's like I obviously worked hard and was good at what I do, but he just wanted to talk to me like I was average all the time because that made him feel better. Um, but it's just like, okay, the 60% I don't think really applies to me, man. I don't want to tell him that, but, I'm thinking it. I just ended up telling him that I don't think I'll have any trouble finding a job after college. And I didn't. I went and got a PhD. Right now, still doing it. They pay you for it. He ended up getting mad at something else right afterwards. Same sort of condescending shit. And that's just how the hangouts were. I mean, it was at the point that if somebody gave me a compliment, he would try to bring me down right away. My best friends. One time I was hanging out with him and his friends while he was visiting, and I explained to one of his friends why, he was saying blue light is more energetic than red light, which is weird because red is hot and blue is cold. And, one's more energetic than the other. Why is it switched here? And I explained to him, and I really thought this was high school level. Maybe I said it in a different way, but than you would say in high school. Well, probably, but still. The science here was pretty high school level. I told him that there's a relation between the wavelength, the frequency, and the speed of light. Speed of light's constant for every single wavelength. It's the same speed. So, what happens when you make... So it's wavelength times frequency equals speed of light. When you decrease the wavelength, you increase the frequency. When you increase the frequency, there's more maximum amplitudes hitting a surface per unit time, delivering more energy, making it a more energetic wave. The guy just looked at me and said, "You're clearly the genius of the group." And just kind of shook his head, because I don't know if he completely understood what I was saying, but I just kind of cringed, because I felt like it was high school level. Anyways, my best friend turns around from playing beer pong and just says, I like to call him the Rain Man of the group more so. This isn't the boys shooting shit. This is him getting perturbed because somebody set me up here and didn't set him even higher. He needed a compliment that was better than myself. That's all I ever got from him. So, I don't think I want to get into all the drug addiction stuff. All the heroin, all the MDMA, the Xanax, the cocaine. It was a lot. And hanging out with him, it was just selfishness. He's always looking out for himself and only himself. He's always trying to drag me down. And, see, I just wanted the best for this guy. I really did. I really just wanted the best for this guy. I wanted him to be the friend that he used to be to me. And I stuck through a lot with him. Honestly, not liking him through a lot of it, which is just probably not good for the both of us. It was 2013. I told my ex-girlfriend I wouldn't be friends with him anymore. If I met him in this day and age, I wouldn't be friends with him. Why? Well, I had obligations and stuff to do when he would visit town, and he didn't understand that. On the flip side, when he has obligations to do, he's like, well, I have stuff to do. Like, what do you want? Like, when he has stuff to do, it's important. When you do, it's like, I want to get drunk with you. What do you mean you have stuff to do? It was just the way it was. Like, he showed up with a 24-pack one day, and I was just like, I'll hang out with you, but I'm not going to drink. I have to finish homework. I have an exam in 2 days. I have labs. I have stuff I need to get done, and I don't want to be hung over for it. And he just gets mad at me. What am I supposed to do with the rest of these then? Like, what? And I'm like, is this, like, do you think this is a legitimate thing to be complaining about? Drink 3 beers and take the rest with you. I don't know. You don't need to finish it. It's just like, we don't need to. But he didn't ask me. He didn't ask me if I wanted it. He just assumed that we're going to do this because I want to do it. And it was just a lot of that. And I got sick of it. So, there's definitely more, but we're kind of getting deep in time here. Yeah, so in the end, when I cut him out, there was no closure. There was no closure whatsoever. He's not going to look at anything that he's done. He's just going to assume you freaking out is you being crazy. He's not going to try to consider the fact that the things he did really perturbed you throughout your life. Never going to think that. Never going to give that to you. And it hurt a lot. I have a little story here. I did cut him out, and then I went back to him. I went through an autistic burnout, and I wasn't the same anymore. I tried to reignite this friendship, and it was just a bad move. There was one visit where he was better, and this happened a lot, where he would correct his behavior because he wasn't acting great, and then he would slide back into how he acted. This happened here. Partially because I wasn't the same. I was way different. I was so sensitive. It was hard to joke around with me, and I wasn't as good at stuff. Video games, they were like competing with me now, and they were like, oh, what the heck, I almost beat you at Mario Party. And I'm like, yeah, I just haven't been good at stuff last year. So, had this happen, Next time I visited, it just went back to the same thing. Nonstop gaslighting me on everything. Trying to tell me that I'm wrong on things I know I'm right on. Just patronizing everywhere. And just had this feeling of he only thinks of himself. It actually got really, really bad. I think AI started to mess with him. And he just looks at people as just so basic. He thinks he can just... Yeah, it just wasn't a good feeling. It wasn't a good feeling being around him. But I let him do all this stuff that I told myself I wouldn't let him do anymore. And it just kind of destroyed me in a lot of ways. I went through a few burnouts because of him. And I don't think he realizes how much it caused me. But, yeah, I don't... It's, going to be hard to actually wrap this up. Because there's so many things that I'm thinking now. Yeah, it's a hard relationship when you're friends with somebody for 15 years and you gotta let them go. Because the relationship used to be good, used to be great, but that's the problem. When these sort of relationships go south, it's hard to recognize it. You see everything with those rose-colored glasses, how things used to be, and you just hope for it to go back. And you invest way too much time to the point where you have this sunken cost fallacy, where you think, oh, I've already put this much time into it, better make it worthwhile. It's a hard choice, but sometimes the best thing to do is just cut your losses and leave. And that's what I wish I would have done. So there's way more history here with like his recklessness and things that happened, how many times he's been to rehab, how many times he's done certain things, but I can say that I think he's legitimately a narcissist, just based off how little he self-reflects, how little he how little time he's put into himself to build himself up, yet he thinks he's deserving of a leadership role all the time. And honestly, his self-awareness just isn't there. It seems impossible for him to understand another person's perspective. Impossible. It's always him looking at you as a subset of himself. So it's honestly just not a good feeling. And narcissists play little games. Like, for all I know, all this stuff that he was doing that was toxic to me was part of it. Maybe it was intentional to make me not feel good about myself. Was he aware of it? I don't know. All I know is being around him felt bad. I'm not the only person who felt bad around him. In fact, a lot of people did. A lot of people felt like he treated them like they just had no say in anything. It was always about him. So, yeah. That's just a little snippet on this long relationship I had with this guy. From why I liked him at first to why I ended up hating him. So, could probably go into more detail, but I think I'm going to cut it there.